I'm delighted to welcome to the stage our next speaker. You may recognise our next speaker from her appearance on BBC's The Apprentice. Please join me in welcoming Jaz Ampaw-Farr, an inspirational speaker, to tell us a little bit about her journey. Jaz, you're very welcome.
Also a teacher, probably should leave with that rather than been on The Apprentice, because that makes me sound like some reality TV whore, which is completely untrue. I am addicted to reality TV, but I only do it once every 20 years. So when I was 20, I went on Blind Date. Anyone remember that? It's like, take me out if you haven't had plastic surgery. And on Blind Date, my date was in the worst date category for the next 9 years on their roundup show. And I only know that because, well, on the date, John from Leeds left me in a romantic restaurant to climb out the window and go for a McDonald's, so that's how I know my date was awful. But I only know that because in my year 1 class that I was teaching at the time, one of the kids that came in like 7 years after I'd been on the show and said, "Miss, we see you got dumped on telly." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you, Kirk." And he said, "Don't worry, miss." He said, "My dad said he wouldn't say no." And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so inappropriate. Which one is your dad, though? So that was my Blind Date experience. I'm going to show you a clip from my Apprentice experience now, because I was a huge success on that show.
Sometimes it can be very difficult to put your finger on that moment when a candidate puts themselves in the firing. But no, for you it was right here.
So here's a curveball I'm going to send you right now. Ladies, who's going to be the project manager on this task?
I am. I had my hand up before I'd realised I'd volunteered.
Very brave. Very brave indeed.
Yeah, because being brave is what I'm good at. What's really interesting is that when you go on The Apprentice, you can't tell anyone. It's like this huge secret. So I knew I was going away. It was going to be 8 weeks filming. I've got 3 kids. So I wrote a letter to every single one of my children to open every day while I was away. And I put a photograph of me and that child in that letter, a different photograph of me with that child every day to open while I'm not there. And they were collecting Moshi Monster toys at the time, so everyone had a different Moshi Monster toy for every day that I wasn't there. That is 168 letters. It took me 11.5 hours to write them. I was fired in the first week and back home in 3 days. It was awful. I said to my husband, "Babe, I'm going to have to fake my own death. This is awful." And when people find out I've been on The Apprentice, because Blind Date at 20, Apprentice at 40, I'm thinking 60, the only obvious choice is Love Island. That's really, there's no other choice but to do. But when people find out about my reality TV addiction, especially The Apprentice, they say to me, "Why would you do that?" Like, why would you go on the show? And, well, it's really easy. First of all, I thought I was going to win, so no problem. And secondly, because I'm not scared of getting it wrong. And this is huge, because I'm an educator. So we're bred to be terrified of Ofsted ricking us a new one at every moment of things happening. So I'm cautious to the core. I'm scared of everything. I let fear drive me a lot of the time. But actually, the reason I'm free of that fear, the reason that I'm able to say, I've got this great idea for kids not leaving primary school without the ability to read, write and spell. I'm going to go on The Apprentice and tell Lord Sugar about it. Does it mean I'll look stupid if I fail? Yeah, but it's worth it. Because actually the difference we make is bigger than the fear we have of trying. That's how people change lives. So when people find out I've been on The Apprentice, they want to know why. And the real reason is because of you. It's because of you. Because I shouldn't be on that show. It's not the sort of thing that I should do. This is me on in my school photo. Ooh. My school photo when I was in year 1 myself. When I showed this to my husband, he said, "Oh, is that you on the back row next to the one that looks like it should be a 1970s Soul Train sort of band?" I'm like, "No, I am the one that looks like this should be in the band. Thank you." He said, "Oh, I thought that was a boy." I'm like, "Thanks." So this is me, this is Tracy, my friend, this is Derek. He's one with the ladies. And this is Mrs. Cook. She's awesome. Mrs. Cook's my teacher. You see what she's wearing there? Brown. That was her uniform. Like brown long sleeves, brown smock, brown polo neck, brown skirt. It was every day. That's what she wore. And Mrs. Cook is the reason I became a teacher. She used to call us like architects. Gather round architects, gather round authors. She used to projectile market our future to us. And she was always she was always believing. She never said I love you, but I knew it, yeah? She was always believing in what we could do, even though I knew I had no chance of doing that. One day she said to us in circle time, who are you going to be? Not what are you going to do, who are you going to be? And Derek put his hand up and said, I want to be a daddy. And we all laughed because we're like, you idiot, she means job. You don't get paid for being a dad. But apparently Derek went on to have several different children with several different women. So dreams do come true. When she asked me, who are you going to be? I'm in awe of this woman. I'm like, oh, Mrs. Cook's talking to me. And I remember I sat on a bench at the time. If you were good, you sat on a bench, and I'd been good that day. And I said, I want to be just like you, which is a bit embarrassing, but I was carried away in the moment. And she looked at me dead serious and said, you mean you want to be a teacher? And I honestly thought, I have not got enough brown clothes to pull off being a teacher. But I'm like, she's looking at me waiting for an answer, I've got to give her something. So I'm like, yeah, sure, teacher, yeah. And she said, you should definitely do that. You would make an awesome teacher. It's like she put a piece of elastic around my waist and tied it to a stake 20 years in my impossible future. And the next 20 years when we're being drawn towards this impossible outcome in my garden of possibility, that doesn't feature at all. No, because what I know about me is that I'm not even going to get to being an adult. I'm going to be dead before I'm an adult. I'm not going to survive. And that was based on evidence as well. This is how I lived. This was my, oh, that's not my family. This was my family. I was, after I left Mrs. Cook's class, we moved. My mum got married to an awful human being. This is 4 of my 5 brothers and sisters. That's me. That's me. That's my life. I was in charge of them. I changed the nappies. I found food for them. I took them to nursery in the morning because they were safer there than they were at home. I stood in the front of them while my stepdad tried to beat them up. I stole food from shops for them. It was my job. That's who I was. When I left Mrs. Cook's class and I moved, we moved to an estate. We went to my mum and dad's wedding and we had to escape from there because there was a big fight, and then we stayed in a brothel that night, a bed and brothel. I think that's a thing. It wasn't a bed and breakfast, that's for sure. We stayed in a bed and brothel, and then we lived in a squat. And I hate this. Maybe I should do X Factor because I've got a great backstory. It's like, I was born a poor black child. I hate that, but it's the truth. It's the truth about who I was and who I am. And the reason I tell you that is because when I say it's impossible for me to survive, it's not rhetoric, it's literally impossible. I still have marks on my arm from when my stepdad and his friends would put cigarettes out on my arm as a game. I was property. And at 8 years old, the first time my stepdad raped me, I realized that I wasn't even human anymore. My entire existence was to try and protect my brothers and to try not to cause trouble. So at school, I was in this 9-carat plastic world of nurture, and at home, I was just trying to survive. And this went on as I left primary school and went into secondary school. This is my year 7 photo, looking hot there. I borrowed some ribbons from Caroline Myers for my afro, untamable afro. This photo was taken in year 7 when they do the period talk, which is just hideous. No one ever, it's always the PE teacher who ends up doing it. Nobody wants to do it. And they just want to finish and I'd go and have a fag. And so we're sitting in the gym. I'm sitting next to Rachel Bortman at the back and the period talk comes on. By now, I've perfected my I don't care face. It's not I don't care, it's I'm not trying because if I don't try, I can't fail. I'm already a failure. I don't need any more confirmation or data on that. So I already had my, not even bothered face on. We're watching this video. It's talking about periods, it's talking about sex ed. And as I'm watching this video, I suddenly realised that what my stepdad has been doing to me for the past 5 years is how you get pregnant. And I die. I mean, I die. Like inside, I just break. Not outside, never outside. I run out of the gym and I go into the toilet and I lean on the toilet to be sick, but I miss the toilet and I'm sick on the floor and I'm crying and grabbing those scratchy green tissues from the hand towel and trying to clean it up because you can't leave a mess. But I am a mess. That's all I am. And there's no one I can tell and there's no one I can speak to. My biggest fear is that I'm going to get into trouble for being pregnant at school. I'm going to get another detention because now I'm pregnant, because it's all my fault. So I run. I leave. I leave my brothers and my sisters, and 11 years old, I run, and I spend 3 days on the streets. And then I find myself outside a pub with this phenomenal human who does everything that Mrs. Cook did. And Mr. Williams, who I'd had by that time in junior school, he enrolled me. He believed in me. What are you doing out? Are you cold? Who's looking after you? Where's your adult? Come on, we need to get you some food. Come in, do this. He made me feel like I belonged. He built this ace relationship, which was authenticity, consistency, and high expectation for me. He did everything that the teachers who had made a difference to me at school did. The tiny connections, the small parts of empathy, the kindness. It made me feel like I was human. I felt invincible. So I went to live with Jason. He was my boyfriend. Only he was 25 and I was 11. And one day he took me shopping. And that's how I came to be standing in a changing room holding a dress. Only it's not a dress, it's lingerie. And Jason isn't a kind benefactor, he's a pimp, obviously. We could learn a lot in education from pimps and drug dealers about how to enroll people. We could learn a lot about how to be a bit more attractive, how to start from where people are, not from where we need them to be. So I'm standing in this change room and I'm holding a dress, and I don't know the word for child prostitution, but I know I'm in danger. My mum and dad aren't looking for me. School don't know where I am. How would they? And I'm standing in this change room holding the dress, and I know I'm in trouble, and I've got nothing. And you know when you go on holiday, you get off the plane and your phone tries to connect to all the foreign signals. I'm like that. I'm looking around like, who are you? Can you help? Do you care? Are you bothered? What about, but there's no one. I am alone and my head is spinning. I am scared to death. I have nothing and no one, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And in that noise and in that panic and in that hell, as I'm standing in that changing room holding the dress, one clear thought comes to my head. And that thought is, there is no way that Mrs. Cook would wear this outfit. Which is just bonkers. I haven't even seen the woman in 7 years, but I never forget the brown. And I've never forgotten her belief in me. And in that moment, it was enough. I dropped the outfit. I ran out the changing room. Jason's rolling a joint, leaning on some bras. He's not used to escapees. He's not looking. I go out of the shop, across the main road. There's like a hardware shop, a TSB bank, the police station, and social services. And I know those well because I'm in and out of there all the time. I run into the police station. I slam my hands on the counter and I say, I demand the right to remain silent. There's too many cop shows. And the policeman's like, all right. Now, I knew that foster care wasn't going to be a bed of roses, Cinderella, happy ever after. I've been in and out of foster care for the physical abuse. But it didn't matter. Because in that moment, I did something that would make Mrs. Cook proud. And that is the difference you make. That. It's the difference you make. It's what happens when you're not even in the room. I know we're all obsessed with data. I get it. Me too. We have to have proof of learning. Proof. We have to have all these marks. I get that. But data, spreadsheets, that doesn't show your impact. It's not the truth about you. The truth about you is that what you do makes a difference to people's lives. Sometimes you're the last chance for people. You certainly were for me. You are everyday heroes. And you need to own that. You need to own it because no one else is going to own your own excellence for you. Ofsted aren't authors. They're not going to author your success. That's on you. That's yours. You need to walk like you are a hero because you are. You make so much difference. It's the truth about who you are. By some freaking miracle, I managed to scratch my way to the end of school. I won't even go into it, but lots of mishaps, lots of false starts, a load of failures. But I get to sixth form college, a year and a half late, but I get there. And I have this amazing tutor called Gilly Archer. She's doesn't hug, she's not a particularly friendly type, her hair's always a mess, but she knows why she's there. She knows her why. She knows that the highest and best thing she can do is not get us a decent set of grades, it's much bigger than that. Her impact is huge. And she's interested in me believing, and she holds this vision of success for me until I can hold it myself, with the full expectation that I will. And she's going against the grain. So Gilly is my form tutor. I'm in and out of school in this time that I'm living there. I'm out of foster care because I turned 18, and you kind of, here's your 250 quid, go and make your fortune. And I'm living in a community house, and everyone thinks I'm really cool because I can come in what time I like, and I just want someone I can show my report to who would be bothered. So just getting there in the morning was I had no bus fare. Just getting there was amazingly difficult. But I made it in. And at the end of this 2 years, I was going through court cases. I was trying to get my brothers and sister out of the home. They were still living with my mum and dad. I was giving evidence in court. I was being called all sorts by my own parents and their lawyer. It was hideous. But I sat A-levels during that time. And not surprisingly, I didn't do great. I managed to get 2 E's. I know, woohoo! But I remember going, because I had a place at Hull University to do drama. I just needed to get a C. And I remember going to Gilly and going, it's over. Like, there's literally been no point. All the battles I fought and won, there's no point. Because I have nothing now. I have nothing. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? My attitude alone is going to stop me from being employed anywhere. I've got no qualifications, I've got nowhere to live, because I can only stay here until I've finished full-time education. I'm not going to be at university. What was the point? What was the point in fighting? I might as well have accepted the truth about myself that I knew from ages of old. There's no point. And Gilly didn't even flinch. She just said, if you were truly committed, you'd take this book, and it was the clearing book. In the days before the internet, you had a thick book, you had all the universities in. You'd take this book, and you'd ring every single university in the country until you got a place. And I'm like, well, that would take me forever. I mean, that would take me days. I'd have to ring everyone. It's going to cost me a fortune. And she's like, I'm glad you've got a plan. So I take the book, not quite sure whether she's helping or annoying me, whether she's bothered or not. And I'm walking away thinking, she doesn't even care. Nobody cares. I don't care. It's not going to, but I've got the book. So I get home, and, change happens through either inspiration or desperation. And often we have to get desperate before we manage to find any inspiration. But I had these 5 everyday heroes. Gilly was the 4 of 5, who I was lucky enough to have one in every key stage. Otherwise, I won't be here. I mean, I shouldn't be. I should be dead. I should be on a psych ward. I should definitely be in prison. I should absolutely be a prostitute. I should be tied into a drug addiction. And obviously, I'm quite, hard-working, so I might have done several of those. And I've done none. I've done none. No, because of you, because of these 5 heroes, because of Gilly. And I get home and I've got the book, and I'm like, right, I'm going to show her this is impossible. And I find the first one. It's like Aberystwyth University. So I pick the phone up and I talk to them. Cannot understand a word they're saying. So I just put the phone down straight away. I've never left Nottingham. I'm like, I don't even know there's a town, an England outside of Nottingham. So I skip down a bit and I get to Aberdeen University. And I pick up the phone and I go, oh, hello, my name's Jaz. I've got 2 E's. And the lady goes, oh, 2 E's? That's really good. Well done. And I'm like, no, 2 E's, 2 E's. Oh, no, thank you. We put the phone down. And I work out, E sounds a bit like A if you're Scottish. Now, being a bit of a survivor at this stage, I realised the only thing stopping me from this vision of success set by my hero, number 1, Mrs. Cook, is the fact that I was unfortunately not born in Edinburgh, which is easily remedied. So I skipped to the B's, like the A's would be talking to each other. Skipped to the B's, I found Bishop Grosseteste College, and I rang up. And in my best Scottish approximation, I said, hello, my name's Jaz. I got 2 A's. And they said, 2 A's, come for an interview. And I'm like, yes. And I put the phone down. I'm like, oh, God, no. What have I just done? I've just lied. No, the whole point of me surviving is thriving away from lies and towards truth. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Pretend to be Scottish for 4 years? How am I going to pull that off, practically? But I literally, the woman who believed in me, this is her dream for me. This is my future according to her. The woman who saved me, so I have to go. So I go to the interview and I'm planning how I'm going to say, yeah, sorry about that, I thought I was Scottish for a minute, or, oh yeah, I had that thing where you go in a coma and you wake up Scottish, or it was my sister, she's Scottish. And I'm like, I'm just going to have to tell the truth. I'm just going to have to go in and go, I pretended to be Scottish, I'm sorry. So I get into the interview and they say go in, and I go in, and there's a guy there and he's got like blonde hair, but it looks like a horse has been eating it. It looks like Boris Johnson's hair. It's all over the place. And I'm slightly distracted by his hair because I was going to do my confession. And he says, you're from like Nottingham? And I say, yeah. And he says, you're from, and he says the name of my estate. I'm like, yeah. He's like, but and he's asking me questions about where I'm from. And I'm like, mate, yes, he said, my cousin works there as a youth worker. He says that most kids leave school at 12 and the girls on that estate are all pregnant by 14. So how are you here applying to be a teacher? How have you done A-levels? How are you here? I said, let me tell you a story. And I told him about Mrs. Cook and Mr. Williams and Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, who just used to say hello to me in the morning. Because when I was coming into secondary, Mr. Ruddock's on the gate. Mr. Ruddock's like, Farr, where's your blazer? Now, my stepdad sold my blazer down the shop with a load of other stuff, but it's a rhetorical question. He doesn't want the answer, so I don't give him one. And I know he doesn't want me to steal a blazer from a year 7 and wear that, because we've tried that. He wasn't keen. So it's this jacket, yeah, or my bra. That's it. That's the choice. So I turn up, where's your blazer? With detention. And that's my welcome to school. But then when I get into school, get into the building, late, because I've taken my brothers to school, but no one ever asked about that, so I didn't think to say, Mr. Simpson is standing inside. Mr. Simpson teaches geography, and he's always got his tie undone and his sleeves rolled up, like geography is hard work. And he's always leaning. It's like 9:15, get up, he's leaning. And as I walk past, he's leaning on their shirt and tie. I walk past and he looks at me and he goes, all right. And I'm like, are you a pervert, sir? Why are you talking to me? I mean, I threw stuff at him, but every day, it didn't matter, every day, he'd be there waiting. And I'd come in after having a debacle with Mr. Ruddock and he'd say, how you doing? Good to see you, glad you made it. I'm like, are you being sarcastic? And depending on how bad things got at home, Mr. Simpson got the brunt of it. It didn't matter. Every day he showed up. And on the days that he wasn't there, I just couldn't navigate education. It is the smallest things that make the biggest difference. The tiniest. You don't have to be a freaking superhero. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be a human before anything else, before a data collector. You just have to be a human first. So Mr. Simpson, who got me through secondary, and then Jilly, I told him about Jilly. And at the end of this story, I'm like, oh, they were so awesome, and I should be, and I'm not, and it's because of them, and by the way, I got 2 E's, not 2 A's, is that okay? And he said, if you promise me to be more authentic, I will promise to get you a place at this teacher training college. And I didn't know what authentic meant. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then I had to go home and look it up, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that's going to be a challenge. But I did it. I did it. And I want to say that I did the work, but I know how many times I gave up. I know how many times I wanted to take my own life. I know how many times. The power you have to make an impact goes way beyond what happens when those students are in front of you. You won't even know the impact of some because you don't know the full story about what's going in their lives. I don't know what the full story is about what's going on in your lives, but I know that you show up at a conference with the stress and the hassle and the lack of funding and the constant changes, to the curriculum and inspection framework and everything. But you show up. Because yes, you know while you're here, your organisations are going to hell in a handboat. You know that because you stepped out for the day. It's on fire. It's literally on fire. I'm looking at everyone trying to do their emails when they should be getting a coffee. Forget well-being. Let's keep it going, keep it going. Please don't be iPhone leaders where like you're all right for 3 years, but then because your battery runs out and you're knackered and we just chuck you away and get another one. We need you in one piece. And the difference you make is, it's me. It's me. what I would love for you to do, because this costs me, it's not like, this isn't therapy. I've had therapy, it's much better than this. But this is redemption. This is me being able to tell the truth to you. Because not only did, Mrs. Cook and Jilly and all my 5 heroes, not only did they get me to a point where I was, a teacher, my dream. When I started being honest about who I was, everything changed. I taught in Clacton-on-Sea, where they had the first UKIP MP. I mean, it's an incredibly racist town, but beautiful scenery, lovely people. Really, I was near the seaside, it was fantastic. Really interesting place for people. When I looked out, all the leaders were like white and male and middle class, and I'm none of them. So I'm thinking, I better try and blend with my backside and my hair. I don't know how I'm going to blend, but I'm going to try. And so I kept all my, I sat quiet when I heard about, I was scared of people knowing who I was, really, still, after all those years. And then one day I turn up at a conference to talk about literacy, which is the thing I love. And I see 300 teachers out there in front of me, and they're from sort of key stage 3, 4, 5, 6 and onwards. And I look at them and think, oh my gosh, you guys, I can see you're knackered. That's evident. Look at you. Some of you haven't been to bed, have you? Some of you have not seen Netflix in a week. Your husband grew a beard. You haven't even noticed. I know. You're all working incredibly hard and knackered. But please just take a minute to realize the difference you make is immeasurable. Please do that. Because when you do, you turn into a civic innovator who is superpowered. It's not about the data that's collected. It's not about, it's more than that. It's so much more. While I've been talking, I know you've been listening. Thank you. But I'm sure you've been thinking about your own everyday heroes. You've been thinking about people in your life that have made a difference to you. Can anyone think of some? Put your hand up if you could think of someone in your life who made a difference to you along the way. Put your hands right up like you're celebrating them right now. And keep your hand up if you have actually told them. Oh, that might be an idea. And don't, if they're dead, pray. I don't know, find a way. Don't give up. Tell their kids. Tell someone. And also, while I've been talking, some of you have been thinking about the little jazzers that you know. And they're not so little sometimes, are they? So I have not done a talk. I've only been doing this in the past 2 years, being honest. But I've not done a talk where someone hasn't come up to me at the end and disclosed some form of abuse. I mean, it's statistically. There are so many of us who seek to heal ourselves so we can serve others. And in order to keep doing that, we need to be standing on the truth about who we are. And so I have a gift for you. The truth about who you are is on a badge, which is in a glass on your table. Apart from one table who hid their glasses, so I had to give it to a woman who looked like she might be a good spy and could keep a secret. And on this badge, it says, our work changes lives. And I would love for you to own that. I would love for you to breathe it in and walk like it and stand like it. I would love for you to take this badge and put it on your lanyard. And if you need more, I'm around for lunch. Come see me. Come get some. I've got a bag full. I'd love you to give them to people who need to hear this and remember this. Because while the stuff goes on above us, who's in the room? Who's there day by day? Who's with the team? It's you. And this is about you and the difference you make. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. From the students that you directly affect, from the students that you are overseeing through a team, for the students that haven't even been born yet, and some of you are so young, you're still going to be in this in 30 years' time. For the students who have had other students, and now you've got those students. Oh my gosh, you're old. But thank you on behalf of all of them. Because, you may never know the impact you make. I always think if we measured what our students were doing 10 years after they left us, that would be a better measure than what they get at the end of the course they're on. If we measured the impact of the family of the guy who's doing a course after feeling unteachable for several years of his life, but finally succeeding with you and the impact that has on his family, if we measured ourselves on that, we'd realize how amazing we were. So take the badge. On the badge is my website. If you've got really good eyesight, it's very tiny. But here's the advantage of reality TV. You can literally put Jaz Apprentice into Google, and there I am. There's loads of videos of me crying and being fired, but under that, some really good resources. So on my website, there's free resources. There's stuff you can take. It's all about well-being and resilience, and it's totally free. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm trying to say, I'm trying to acknowledge Mrs. Cook, really, and the others. I'm trying to acknowledge Gilly's input. I'm trying to be who they believed I was before I knew I was. And also, if you're interested in having me come and speak to your organisation, I'd be happy to do that. You can contact me through there. But I just thank you so much for who you are, for what you do, for showing up as your whole self every single day. You literally are heroes. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you. Jaz, that was absolutely fantastic, thank you. And it reminded me of, you know, everybody in this hall will have a story of the impact that they have made in their work in further education and skills, I'm sure. And I kind of would encourage you to remind yourself of the difference that you make. We've got a few minutes before we break for lunch. Has anybody got any questions? Right down at the front here. No, the microphone's just behind you. So if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, Jaz. Nikki from POA Learning, based at HMP Nottingham. So big up the Nottingham Massive. I just wondered, have you told Mrs. Cook?
Oh, yeah. You know what I've worked out is that we are only as powerful as the stories we tell. And the story I told myself for so long was, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing a good enough job, I'm rubbish at this, I'm a failure, I'm an imposter. And that limited the impact. And when I started being honest and taking stock of the tiny increments that I've actually done, that's when I thought, I've got to go find these people and tell them. So the first person I went to find was Mrs. Cook. And I found her. She was in the same school, in the same class, with the same freaking outfit on. And she's fatter and older, but she's there. And she's there, and she's bent over like this, talking to this snotty guy with a basin haircut. And I go, Mrs. Cook, it's me. Oh, Mrs. Cook. And she turns around and goes, hello. Oh, she doesn't even recognise me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the most important child in your past. So I explain who I am, and I say, Mrs. Cook, I'm going to be a teacher, just like you. I'm training to be a teacher. Just like, and she puts her hands on my shoulders, and she says, are you doing well? Are you taking care of you, and are you doing well? And I'm like, yes. And she went, that's great. And then she went back to this snotty kid. And I'm like, why aren't you dancing with me? You know, I just couldn't understand why she wasn't celebrating. But what I kind of got is that she was doing what she always did, focusing on the person that needs her. But I would like to see people actually taking stock and recognising the impact they make, because that drives you. And so if you like, you know, when we have our Ofsted and then we get, yeah, you're great, and then 10 minutes later another disaster happens and you're on that. What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? How about we just stop for a minute and go, oh yeah, just for a minute, because that's what's kept her going.
Brilliant, thank you. We got any more questions for Jaz? We must have some questions.
You can ask about The Apprentice, it's fine.
So what inspired you to go on it? What was it that kind of, I'm going to put myself forward for that?
Well, because I was doing a spelling scheme for a school I was working with, and I'm watching it on telly, and have you seen it? They're all stupid. They make really stupid mistakes. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could do better than that. I should do it. They've never had a teacher on there. If I was on there, and then before I knew it, I'd applied and got on. Like, I had to email my husband and say, can you watch the kids for 8 weeks? I'm going to London. And my driving force was, you say yes first, you work out the details after. Because for years, my driving force was, shut up, keep your head down, stop trying, just blend in somewhere, be quiet. And I'm like, well, because this whole life of like, why me? And then something changed. It was around Gilly. It suddenly became, why not me? Why not me? And so I tend to say yes first. I met my husband through Marie Claire, Man of the Month. You know, blind date didn't work out. You just got to keep trying this thing. 20 years later, 3 kids, all good. So I think part of it is that thing of not being afraid. You know, the story I told myself is that I'm too scared. And now the story I tell myself is that I can come back from any failure. So literally, why not do The Apprentice? Because my idea was like, literally, I was just, like, bodies don't talk to each other. For me, social services didn't speak to school, or they did, but they didn't. School weren't speaking to the doctors. When I got to sixth form, so I felt like I was the author of my own disadvantage, and I was constantly having to explain it to people, and I just, It just keeps you playing a really small game. And if I'm going to be on this planet, I'm playing to win the whole time.
Excellent. Yeah. Brilliant. Question just here. The microphone's coming. Lady just behind Shane.
Nalista Cuffey, I'm governor at one of our Leicester City colleges. You talked about everybody helping you, but one of the things in your journey was you were helping your own siblings.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
Well, first off, I talk about the teachers helping me, but Sonia Blanford wrote this amazing book, and in it there's a line that talks about valuing, not rescuing. Like, we've all got this whole white saviour, I've got it, I'm not even white saviour complex, you want to swoop in and rescue everyone. But there's something about valuing rather than rescuing. You can't rescue someone who is fighting you to be rescued, but valuing them is something you can do point blank. So with my brothers and sisters, eventually they all got taken out of the home and into care, one got adopted. And yeah, statistically, the trajectory is what you can imagine from a child who grows up in that. So we were all separated. I left 4 of them when I was 11. And that was a huge break, because for them I was abandoning them. I was their parent and I was leaving, but I was scared for my own. So for years I had trouble with that, rationalising that. So that broke our relationship quite a lot, and then we just didn't talk for years. And then 2 weeks before the apprentice, Paul, the brother I was closest to, took a heroin overdose and died. So, we had the same upbringing and the same experience, but I had 5 of you and he didn't. That's why I'm not, this isn't some happy little, isn't it great? I'm telling you, you save lives. So, but through Paul's death, we kind of reconnected, and they're all, my sister, like, she got pregnant at 14 and dropped out and went into a world of drugs and prostitution, but she's amazing, she's incredible, she has 2 kids and she's working at a college, and, my brothers are, they're there, they haven't talked about it, they're not processing, no one's processed any of it, so they're coping with a lot of crap and trying to, so I focus on the kids, I focus on my nephews and nieces, and I talk to them about, like, one of them really high achieving, hasn't applied for anything after school, like literally nothing. And I'm like, mate, what's school doing? Aspiration, that's the one thing. So I spoke to him, and he went into school the next day, came home with a 6-form application form and 2 apprenticeships he could do, and now he's applying for everything. And that, for me, it's like, we interrupt the story. We do one tiny thing to veer off, and then people take the path. I can't rescue everyone, that's why I elicit people. I need you guys. We all need to be engaging and connecting. So their stories aren't over yet, is how I see it.
Thank you. Jaz, thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for being honest and real, and thank you for giving us that reminder that our work, the work that is done by everybody in this room, absolutely does change lives. Can we give Jaz another round of applause? Thank you very much.